Have you ever wondered what kind of birds live in a place most people only think of as paradise for beaches and honeymoon trips? Pause. Well, today we're heading straight to the Maldives, a chain of tropical islands surrounded by turquoise seas, coral reefs, and white sandy beaches. But here's the surprise. It's not just a paradise for people. It's also home to some of the most beautiful and rare birds on the planet. In this video, we'll meet 15 extraordinary species that call the Maldives home. From powerful hunters that dive into the ocean like feathered missiles, to tiny shorebirds that blend perfectly with the sand, to seabirds so pure white they look like ghosts of the sea. You're about to see a side of the Maldives that few travelers ever experience. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which bird you think will steal the show. Will it be the mighty hunter, the comical oddball, or the delicate beauty that seems almost too magical to be real? Let's find out together. And to start, we're going straight to the skies above the islands, where one of the ocean's greatest fishermen rules, the Osprey. High above the turquoise waters of the Maldives, a dark shape circles against the sun. Tourists might think it's just another seagull, until it suddenly pauses mid-air, wings beating like a helicopter, eyes locked on the waves below. And then, bam! It folds its wings and dives straight down, hitting the surface with an explosion of spray. When it rises again, there's a wriggling fish clutched in its talons. This is no seagull. This is the Osprey, one of the greatest fishermen in the entire bird world. The Osprey is easy to recognize. Long, narrow wings, white underparts, and a bold, dark stripe running through its eyes like a bandit's mask. In the Maldives, these raptors are masters of the shallow lagoons and coral atolls. They hover patiently, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, then snatch fish with a grip so powerful, the prey almost never escapes. Here's a fun fact. Ospreys have a reversible outer toe, which allows them to hold fish with 2 toes in front and 2 behind, like carrying a fish sandwich with a built-in clamp. And they're smart about it too. After catching a fish, they always turn it head first in flight, making it more aerodynamic. Nature's own engineers at work. Now for the twist. Ospreys weren't always common here. Decades ago, hunting and disturbance made them rare in parts of their range. But thanks to conservation, they've bounced back, and the Maldives has become one of their strongholds. For many visitors, spotting an osprey hovering over the blue sea, then plunging into the water, is one of those unforgettable travel moments. Part wildlife encounter, part action movie. So here's my question for you. If you were floating on a boat in the Maldives and saw an osprey dive right next to you, would you cheer like you just saw a stunt show or sit in stunned silence, trying not to blink? Let me know in the comments. From this mighty hunter of the skies, we now turn to something more delicate, graceful, slender, and snow white, with just a dash of elegance, the Black-naped Tern. If the Osprey is the action hero of the Maldivian skies, then the Black-naped Tern is the ballerina. Picture a bird so slender and graceful it seems to float above the turquoise waves. With its snowy white body, long forked tail, and a delicate black line running across the back of its head, the Black-naped Tern is elegance in motion. These terns love the open seas and the sandy islands of the Maldives. You'll often see them gliding effortlessly above the water, wings long and narrow, barely moving as they ride the ocean breeze. Then in a flash, they dip down to snatch a tiny fish or squid right from the surface. Unlike the osprey's dramatic splash dives, the Black-naped Tern feeds with finesse, quick, clean, and almost silent. Here's a fun fact. These birds often nest in colonies on small sandbars or rocky islets, sometimes just a few feet above the high tide line. Their eggs are speckled and camouflaged, blending perfectly with sand and pebbles. It's nature's own disguise, protecting the next generation from predators. And here's a little twist. While they look delicate, Black-naped Terns are fiercely protective parents. If an intruder comes too close to their nesting site, the entire colony will swoop and scream, dive-bombing the intruder until it flees. Imagine being chased off an island by a squadron of angry white arrows. The Black-naped Tern also has a voice as distinctive as its looks. Their sharp, high-pitched calls carry across the lagoon, sounding like tiny whistles echoing off the water. For many travelers, that sound becomes part of the memory of the Maldives, a soundtrack to paradise. So here's my question. If you had the chance to watch these elegant terns gliding and diving along a Maldivian beach, would you film them for Instagram or just sit back and enjoy the free ballet of the sea? Tell me in the comments below. From this graceful dancer, we move to another bird even more ethereal. Pure white, almost ghost-like, and often called the fairy of the seas. Let's meet the enchanting white tern. If the black-naped tern is the ballerina of the Maldives, then the white tern is pure magic. Imagine walking along a beach at sunset when suddenly a snow-white bird glides overhead, wings gleaming against the pink sky. With no markings at all, just a perfectly white body and long, elegant wings. The white tern looks like a spirit of the ocean. No wonder locals sometimes call it the fairy of the seas. This bird has a unique charm. While most seabirds lay their eggs in nests, the white tern does something completely different. It balances its single egg directly on the branch of a tree without any nest at all. At first glance, that seems like a terrible idea. One wrong breeze and goodbye egg, right? But somehow it works. The chick hatches, clings tightly with tiny claws, and stays put until it's ready to fly. It's one of nature's boldest parenting strategies. Here's a fun fact. Because of this unusual nesting habit, white terns are symbols of resilience and trust. They've even become cultural icons in places like Hawaii, where they're beloved city birds. In the Maldives, spotting one floating over the turquoise lagoons feels like stepping into a fairy tale. And here's a twist. Despite their angelic appearance, white terns are skilled hunters. They hover over the sea and plunge with precision, catching small fish and squid. Watching a flock dive in perfect synchronization is like seeing a team of acrobats performing an aerial show. What makes them extra memorable is their behavior around people. Unlike many seabirds that avoid humans, white terns are often curious, sometimes even choosing to nest in trees right beside villages. Imagine stepping out of your bungalow and finding a white tern chick staring back at you from a nearby branch. Paradise just got a lot more magical. So here's my question. If you discovered a white tern egg perfectly balanced on a branch with no nest, would you be amazed at nature's genius or nervous that the egg might tumble? Tell me in the comments. From the fairies of the sea, we now step into the wetlands, where a tall and elegant hunter stalks slowly through reeds and shallow water. Let's meet the purple heron. After the delicate white tern, let's shift to a bird that trades in magic for mystery. Standing tall in the wetlands of the Maldives, cloaked in shades of chestnut gray and violet, the purple heron is elegance wrapped in camouflage. At first glance, you might miss it completely. The purple heron has a talent for freezing in place, neck stretched skyward, blending perfectly with reeds and tall grasses. To an unsuspecting fish swimming below, it's just another stalk of vegetation, until that lightning-fast bill strikes. And when it does, dinner is served. The purple heron is slimmer and darker than its cousin, the gray heron, giving it a sleeker, almost aristocratic look. With a wingspan over 5 feet, it takes off with slow, deliberate wing beats, gliding low over lagoons and mangroves, like a shadow of dusk itself. Here's a fun fact. Purple herons are incredible hunters, not just because of their stealth, but also because of their patience. They can stand perfectly still for what feels like forever, waiting for the exact right moment. Birdwatchers joke that the purple heron should win an Olympic gold medal in extreme waiting. Now for a twist, these birds aren't just silent hunters. During the breeding season, their colonies come alive with croaks, growls, and strange guttural sounds you'd never expect from such a graceful creature. It's like finding out the elegant violinist at the concert hall moonlights as a heavy metal singer. In the Maldives, the purple heron adds color and character to wetlands and backwaters, reminding us that paradise isn't just about sandy beaches. Sometimes beauty hides in the quiet corners where life thrives in unexpected ways. So here's my question. If you spotted a purple heron frozen in the reeds, would you notice its beauty right away, or only realize later that you'd been looking at a master of disguise? Share your thoughts in the comments. From the reeds and wetlands, let's move to the open shores. where smaller, faster birds scurry across sandy beaches. Our next feathered traveler is the greater sand plover. From the tall and elegant purple heron, let's zoom way down to the beach, where a much smaller bird scurries along the shoreline with surprising speed, the greater sand plover. At first glance, it may not look like much, but this little shorebird is full of charm, energy, and resilience. The greater sand plover is built for life on the sand. With long legs, a rounded body, and a short bill, it dashes across beaches in quick bursts, pausing suddenly to peck at tiny crabs, insects, or worms. To anyone watching, it looks almost like a child playing tag with the waves. Run, stop, peck, repeat. It's a dance of survival performed daily on the shores of the Maldives. During the breeding season, males sport a reddish chest and bold markings that make them surprisingly handsome for such a small bird. Outside of breeding season, their plumage is plainer, but they still carry that restless energy, always on the move, always alert. Here's a fun fact. Greater sand plovers are long-distance travelers. Many breed in Central Asia and then migrate thousands of miles south to winter in the Maldives. Imagine a creature barely bigger than your hand flying across continents just to spend its holidays on a tropical beach. Not a bad travel plan, right? And here's the twist. Despite their small size, these birds are fiercely protective parents. When danger approaches the nest, they'll perform a dramatic broken wing act, limping away and flapping as if injured, tricking predators into chasing them instead of their eggs or chicks. Talk about acting skills worthy of an Oscar. These plovers are also important indicators of healthy coastal ecosystems. Their presence tells us the beaches are thriving with life, from insects to crabs to the shifting sands that shape the islands. Without them, something vital would be missing from the rhythm of the shoreline. So here's my question. If you saw a tiny plover sprinting back and forth along a Maldivian beach, would you chase after it with your camera or just sit back and smile at its endless game of tag with the sea? Share your answer in the comments below. From this lively beach runner, we move to another plover, smaller, rarer, and even more closely tied to the sands of the Maldives. Next up, the Kentish plover. On the same beaches where the greater sand plover dashes about, another little bird quietly makes its living. Meet the Kentish plover, smaller, subtler, but every bit as fascinating. If the greater sand plover is the marathon runner, the Kentish plover is the quiet strategist, blending into the sands with its pale plumage and delicate steps. This tiny shorebird is almost camouflaged against the backdrop of coral beaches, with sandy brown feathers above and white below, plus a neat black line near the eyes in breeding season. It looks like the shoreline itself decided to grow a heartbeat. You'll often spot them running in short bursts, pausing to snatch insects, worms, or tiny crustaceans before darting off again. Here's a fun fact. The Kentish plover is known for its minimalist parenting style. Unlike some birds that build elaborate nests, this plover simply scrapes a shallow hollow in the sand and lays its eggs right there. The speckled eggs blend so perfectly with the beach that predators often overlook them, nature's version of hiding in plain sight. Now for a twist. Despite their modest size, Kentish plovers are globetrotters. They breed in scattered areas from Europe to Asia and migrate south to places like the Maldives for winter. Imagine a bird weighing less than 2 ounces making a journey that spans thousands of miles, without luggage, without GPS, just instinct and determination. Not bad for a creature smaller than your morning coffee cup. Kentish plovers are also a conservation concern. As tourism and development grow along tropical coastlines, their fragile nesting sites are at risk of being disturbed. That's why seeing them in the Maldives isn't just delightful. It's also a reminder of the delicate balance between nature and human footprints in the sand. So here's my question. If you were strolling along a Maldivian beach and spotted a Kentish plover nesting in the sand, would you lean in for a photo or step back quietly to give it space? Share your thoughts in the comments. From this quiet little minimalist, we now move to a bird with a very different strategy. One that flips rocks, turns shells, and digs into seaweed in search of food. Let's meet the Ruddy Turnstone. If the Kentish plover is a minimalist, the Ruddy Turnstone is a full-on problem solver. This little shorebird doesn't just run along the sand looking for scraps. It gets creative. As its name suggests, the Ruddy Turnstone makes a living by literally flipping over stones, shells, and bits of seaweed to uncover hidden meals. It's like a tiny beach detective, constantly investigating what's underneath. With its bold black and white pattern and splashes of rufous orange during the breeding season, the Ruddy Turnstone is strikingly handsome for a shorebird. But what really sets it apart is its behavior. Watching a group of turnstones at work can be surprisingly entertaining. They scurry in little gangs, flipping debris with their sharp bills, then pouncing on crabs, insects, or worms that thought they were safe. It's like nature's version of a treasure hunt, and the turnstones always win. Here's a fun fact. These birds are among the most widespread shorebirds on the planet. They breed as far north as the Arctic tundra and migrate thousands of miles south, reaching the Maldives to enjoy the warm beaches. Think about it. A bird barely bigger than your hand traveling across hemispheres just to spend winter in paradise. Sounds like they've figured out the ultimate retirement plan. Now for the twist. Despite their quirky behavior, Ruddy Turnstones are tough survivors. They're known to scavenge almost anything edible, including scraps from fishing boats. In some parts of the world, they've even been spotted raiding picnics for crumbs. Imagine sitting on a Maldivian beach with your lunch and suddenly realizing your dining companions are a flock of very determined turnstones. Their adaptability makes them an important part of the ecosystem. By flipping debris, they help recycle nutrients and keep the shoreline alive with activity. They're proof that even small birds can make a big impact. So here's my question. If you were having a picnic on the beach and a Ruddy Turnstone strutted up to steal a crumb, would you chase it away or laugh and let it join the party? Tell me in the comments. From the playful stone flipper, we now move to something much rarer and more specialized. A bird with a strange, oversized bill, perfectly designed for cracking crabs. Let's meet the crab-plover. Now, if the Ruddy Turnstone is a clever scavenger, the crab-plover is a full-on specialist. Just look at that bird. Long legs like a stilt walker, black and white plumage as sharp as a tuxedo, and most importantly, a huge, heavy bill built for one thing: cracking crabs. This is the Maldivian shoreline's very own crab-eating machine. The crab-plover is unlike almost any other shorebird. It doesn't just pick delicately at the sand. Instead, it hunts down crabs, grabs them with that oversized bill, and smashes them apart with a force you wouldn't expect from such a sleek bird. Watching one at work is like watching a master chef with a nutcracker. Crunch, snap, dinner served. Here's a fun fact. The crab-plover is the only bird in its entire family. That means it has no close relatives. It's a one-of-a-kind evolutionary branch. If birds had family trees, the crab-plover would be that quirky cousin nobody else resembles, standing proudly on its own. And here's the twist. Unlike most shorebirds that build simple scrapes in the sand, crab-plovers dig long burrows, sometimes several feet deep, into sandy banks. They lay their eggs safely inside these tunnels, where the warmth of the sand helps incubate them. It's an unusual strategy, but it works beautifully, keeping chicks safe from both predators and the tropical sun. In the Maldives, seeing a crab-plover is a real treat. They're not as common as plovers or sandpipers, so spotting one striding along the beach feels special, like stumbling across a rare treasure. Their striking black and white plumage against the backdrop of turquoise water makes them unforgettable. So here's my question. If you saw a crab-plover walking proudly down a Maldivian beach, giant bill at the ready, would you think of it as a fashion model in tuxedo colors or as a crab-crunching warrior? Share your thoughts in the comments. From this bold specialist of the sands, we now take to the skies again, where flocks of graceful seabirds with striking eye stripes glide over the waves. Next up, the Bridled Tern. If the crab-plover is all about power, the Bridled Tern is all about style. Sleek, slender, and sharply dressed in black, white, and gray, it looks like it's wearing a little eye mask, almost like a bird straight out of a masquerade ball. Spot one gliding over the turquoise waters of the Maldives, and you'll quickly see why birdwatchers describe them as elegance in motion. Bridled terns spend much of their lives at sea, only returning to land during the breeding season. They nest on remote sandy islands and rocky ledges, often in large colonies where their sharp, chattering calls fill the air. Unlike some terns that make dramatic plunges, brittled terns feed with quick, shallow dives or by snatching fish from just below the surface. It's a more refined approach, less splash, more grace. Here's a fun fact. Their name comes from the thin white line running from above the eye to the back of the neck, like a tiny bridle strap. That simple feature is what sets them apart from other terns. In a flock, it's almost like they're all wearing coordinated uniforms. Now for the twist. Bridled terns are true ocean wanderers. Some individuals migrate thousands of miles across the Indian Ocean, disappearing for months before returning to the same Maldivian islands to breed. For a bird weighing less than half a pound, that's an epic journey worthy of admiration. In the Maldives, seeing a cloud of bridled terns sweeping across the horizon is breathtaking. They move with perfect coordination, as if the whole flock is being conducted by an invisible orchestra. And when they settle back onto the islands, their black caps and bridled faces give them a look of quiet sophistication, like nature's own little jet setters. So here's my question. If you could watch a massive flock of bridled terns swirling above a Maldivian atoll, would you compare it to a dance performance, a symphony in the sky, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. From this stylish traveler, let's meet another seabird with flair, larger, louder, and wearing a wild crest that makes it unforgettable. Next up, the great crested tern. If the bridled tern is sleek and stylish, the great crested tern is bold and flamboyant. Picture a seabird with a shaggy black crest that looks like it just rolled out of bed after a wild night, yet still somehow pulls it off. Add a long yellow bill, pale gray wings, and a confident attitude, and you've got the rock star of Maldivian beaches. These terns are among the largest of their family, with wingspans stretching nearly 4 feet. You'll often find them patrolling the lagoons and reefs, soaring high and then plunging dramatically into the water to catch fish. Unlike the quiet elegance of smaller terns, the great crested tern is loud and proud, its harsh calls ringing across the colony like a rowdy crowd at a concert. Here's a fun fact. Great crested terns are social birds that often nest in huge colonies, sometimes with thousands of pairs crammed together on small sandbanks. When they all take flight at once, the sky darkens with wings, and the sound of beating feathers is like a thunderclap. It's both chaotic and awe-inspiring, a reminder of how powerful nature can be when it moves in unison. Now for a twist. Despite their glamorous looks, these birds can be surprisingly clumsy on land. Their long wings and big bodies make them awkward walkers, and watching them shuffle around nesting sites can be unintentionally funny. It's like watching a runway model trip in oversized shoes, still stylish, but a little less graceful on the ground. In the Maldives, great crested terns are an unmistakable part of the seascape. Their wild hairdos and loud voices make them impossible to ignore, and spotting one perched against the turquoise waters is like meeting a celebrity in paradise. So here's my question. If you saw a great crested tern with its messy crest blowing in the ocean breeze, would you think it looked fierce, fabulous, or just flat out funny? Tell me in the comments below. From this rock star of the reefs, let's move to a bird that trades boldness for calm. Dark, chocolate brown, and nesting in tight-knit communities, our next species is the gentle but fascinating brown noddy. After the flashy great crested tern, it's time to meet a seabird that prefers subtle elegance, the brown noddy. With its soft chocolate brown plumage, pale white cap, and dark, gentle eyes, it looks calm and composed, like the quiet neighbor who never causes a fuss. But don't be fooled. This bird has a few surprises up its wings. Brown noddies are abundant across the tropical oceans, and in the Maldives, they gather in large colonies on remote islands. Unlike many seabirds that lay eggs on bare rock or sand, brown noddies prefer a bit of comfort. They often build nests in bushes or low trees, sometimes reusing the same site year after year. Seeing a colony of them dotting a seaside tree can feel like watching ornaments hanging on nature's Christmas tree. Here's a fun fact. Their name comes from their odd courtship ritual. Males and females nod their heads at each other repeatedly, as if politely agreeing on who's bringing dinner. It's both charming and a little funny. Nature's version of a polite handshake turned into romance. Now for the twist. Despite their calm appearance, brown noddies are excellent hunters. They fly low over the sea, scanning for schools of fish, then dive gracefully to snatch their meal. What's fascinating is that they often fish cooperatively, moving in flocks to drive prey toward the surface. It's teamwork at its finest. Proof that even the quiet ones can make a lot of noise when it matters. In the Maldives, brown noddies are a symbol of the deep connection between land and sea. Their colonies mark safe, healthy ecosystems, and their presence has been noted by islanders for generations. To locals, they're as much a part of the seascape as the waves themselves. So here's my question. If you watched a pair of brown noddies nodding politely to one another on a Maldivian beach, would you find it adorable, funny, or maybe a little bit of both? Share your thoughts in the comments below. From these calm, nodding neighbors of the islands, we turn to a bird with a far flashier hunting style, hovering midair like a drone before plunging for fish. Next up, the pied kingfisher. If the brown noddy is calm and understated, the pied kingfisher is all about drama. Black and white, sharp and sleek, it looks like it's been dressed in a tuxedo for a night out. Except this bird doesn't just look good, it puts on one of the most thrilling hunting shows in the Maldives. Unlike most kingfishers that perch and wait, the pied kingfisher has a unique trick. It hovers mid-air like a tiny helicopter, wings buzzing rapidly while it stares down at the water. Then, in an instant, it dives straight in, splashing into the sea and coming up with a wriggling fish in its long, dagger-like bill. For anyone watching, it's a performance you won't forget. Part air show, part fishing trip. Here's a fun fact. The pied kingfisher is the largest bird in the world that can hover like this for long periods without relying on wind. Think about that. This little guy figured out how to do something even most raptors can't. It's basically the hummingbird of the kingfisher family, only with a much fiercer attitude. And here's a twist. Unlike many birds where only the female does the parenting, pied kingfishers take teamwork seriously. The male and female both feed the chicks, and sometimes even older siblings or helpers from previous nests join in. Imagine having your older brother show up to babysit and bring snacks. It's family care, bird style. In the Maldives, these birds are often seen hovering above lagoons or perched on poles near fishing boats. Their bold black and white plumage makes them easy to spot, and their constant motion keeps you entertained. For locals and visitors alike, they're a reminder of the Maldives' rich and lively coastal ecosystems. So here's my question. If you saw a pied kingfisher hovering like a drone above the turquoise waters, would you grab your phone to film the action, or just sit back and enjoy nature's free fishing show? Tell me in the comments. From this aerial acrobat, we now turn to a bird known more for its voice than its looks, a bird whose loud, ringing call is heard across the tropics. Next up, the Asian coal. If the pied kingfisher impresses with acrobatics, the Asian coal wins with pure volume. You may not always see this bird right away, but you'll almost certainly hear it. Its loud, ringing coo-oo call echoes through villages, gardens, and coconut groves of the Maldives, especially at dawn. For some, it's music. For others, let's just say it's nature's alarm clock. The Asian coal is a member of the cuckoo family, and it shows in its habits. The males are glossy black with striking red eyes, while females wear speckled brown plumage for camouflage. Both are sleek, long-tailed, and surprisingly shy, despite being so noisy. Here's a fun fact. Coals are brood parasites. That means instead of raising their own chicks, females secretly lay their eggs in the nests of other birds, often crows. The unsuspecting foster parents end up doing all the hard work, feeding and protecting chicks that aren't even their own. It's sneaky, clever, and has made the coal infamous across Asia. Now for the twist. Despite this rather devious parenting strategy, the coal is beloved in many cultures. Its call is linked to the arrival of spring and monsoon rains, often celebrated in poetry and folklore. In India, the coal is even associated with love songs and romance. So depending on where you are, that loud call could either mean time to wake up or love is in the air. In the Maldives, hearing the coal's call while walking through palm groves gives a unique soundtrack to island life. You may look up and only see a flash of black or brown darting between trees, but the sound lingers, echoing across the tropics. So here's my question. If you were woken up at sunrise by the coal's relentless coo-oo, coo-oo, would you smile at the soundtrack of paradise or pull the pillow over your head? Tell me in the comments. From this noisy trickster of the trees, we head back to the sea, to a bird with a bold splash of color and some very unusual footwear. Next up, the red-footed booby. After the noisy Asian coal in the treetops, let's head back to the open ocean to meet a bird that's impossible to mistake. The red-footed booby. Imagine a sleek seabird with long wings, a pale blue bill, and the brightest red feet you've ever seen. It's as if nature couldn't decide on subtle elegance or bold fashion, so it gave the booby both. The red-footed booby is the smallest of the booby family, but don't let its size fool you. These birds are phenomenal flyers, covering vast distances over the Indian Ocean in search of fish. They plunge dive from the air, folding their wings tight as they slice into the sea, emerging seconds later with a catch. Watching them hunt is like watching jet pilots practice precision maneuvers. Here's a fun fact. Unlike many seabirds that only nest on cliffs or ground, red-footed boobies often nest in trees and shrubs. Picture a bird with oversized red feet perched awkwardly on a branch. It's both comical and endearing. Their colonies, often mixed with frigate birds, can number in the thousands, filling entire islands with raucous calls and bustling energy. Now for the twist. The word booby actually comes from the Spanish bobo, meaning fool. Early sailors thought these birds were clumsy and easy to catch, since they often landed on ships. But don't be fooled by the name. The red-footed booby is anything but stupid. Its mastery of the air and sea makes it one of the Maldives' most capable hunters. In the Maldives, spotting one gliding effortlessly over turquoise waves is unforgettable. And when it lands, those bright red feet flash like a pair of neon sneakers on an otherwise classy outfit. It's nature's way of saying, sometimes a splash of color is all you need to stand out. So here's my question. If you saw a red-footed booby strutting along a branch with its scarlet feet on display, would you think it looked stylish, silly, or maybe both? Tell me in the comments below. And now for our final bird of the Maldives, pure white, ethereal, and often called the angel of the sea. Let's close with the enchanting Fairy Tern. If the red-footed booby was bold and flashy, the Fairy Tern is the opposite. Pure elegance, pure simplicity, pure white. Imagine walking on a Maldivian beach as the sun sets, and a bird so bright it looks like a floating pearl glides silently above the waves. With its snow-white feathers and black beady eyes, the Fairy Tern is often called the angel of the sea, and once you see it, you'll understand why. The Fairy Tern is unique not only for its beauty, but also for its bizarre parenting choice. Like its cousin, the white tern, it lays a single egg directly on the branch of a tree. No nest, no lining, nothing. The egg balances there precariously, as if daring gravity to try its luck. And somehow it works. The chick hatches, grips the branch with tiny claws, and clings until it's ready to fly. It's one of the most daring survival strategies in the bird world. Here's a fun fact. Fairy terns often choose branches that hang directly over the ocean. That way, if the chick tumbles, there's at least water below instead of hard ground. Smart thinking for such delicate-looking birds. Now for the twist. Despite their angelic looks, fairy terns are excellent hunters. They skim the surface of the sea, snatching tiny fish and squid with precision. And when you see a whole flock of them gliding together over the turquoise lagoons of the Maldives, it feels like watching a dream take flight. For islanders, the fairy tern is more than just a bird. It's a symbol of purity, resilience, and the fragile beauty of the ocean. For travelers, it's often the species they remember most, not because it's loud or flashy, but because it seems almost otherworldly. So here's my question. If you saw a fairy tern gliding silently over a Maldivian reef, would you call it an angel, a ghost, or perhaps the soul of the ocean itself? Share your thoughts in the comments. And with that, we end our journey through the Maldives. 15 of the most beautiful and rare birds that make these islands more than just a tropical paradise for people, but a paradise for wings as well. And there you have it, 15 of the most beautiful and rare birds found only in the Maldives. From the fearless Osprey plunging into turquoise seas, to the comical red-footed Booby with its neon red feet, to the ethereal Fairy Tern floating like an angel above the waves, each one tells a story of survival, wonder, and the fragile balance of island life. The Maldives may be famous for its beaches, crystal waters, and coral reefs, but its bird life is just as magical. These species remind us that paradise isn't just for people. It belongs to the wildlife that has called it home for thousands of years. If you enjoyed this journey, please give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and share it with someone who loves nature as much as you do. And tell us in the comments, which Maldivian bird captured your imagination the most? Was it the mighty hunter, the graceful dancer, or the angel of the sea? Thank you for joining us on this adventure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and never stop marveling at the incredible birds that make our world so extraordinary.